All right, race fans, welcome to Lernerville Speedway once again. This is Jeremy, which is kind of different than normal. You're used to seeing Dustin do this intro, but tonight it's Mr. Kenny Haight and myself calling the shots for you this evening with the Mini Motorsport Door Big Blocks series. Tonight's event is sponsored by Full-Send Gaming, the Full-Send Gaming 35. Kenny, welcome aboard. It's cool to see a different face. It's kind of like the NASCAR thing where they do where the drivers call the shots and maybe on like a fun event or something. So a little different. How you feeling about being in the booth with me tonight?
I mean, I got to do it once before, and tonight's a whole new night. Been out of it for a little while, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see what these big blocks are going to do tonight. And I think being at Lernerville, it should make for one interesting race.
Yeah, it should definitely be a race to watch for sure. The street stocks produced a pretty good event. I mean, minus the caution count, the racing when it was green flag was excellent. I expect nothing less with the big blocks. I know these cars go a little bit faster. That line's going to get more slicker on the top than what we saw previously. My expectation is nothing less. The guy's going to hug the outside berm and give it all they got and push that edge to the limit. You being more of a dirt expert than myself, what do you expect for this evening?
I'm going to say for about the first half to 3/4 of the race, I agree. You're going to see a lot of guys running up towards the top. And you'll see maybe a handful push down towards the middle. You might have that one or two guys that try the low line and see what they can build from it. But these big blocks have more power than the street stock, so they'll be able to come out of that low line a lot easier than the street stocks. The street stocks are more like momentum cars. So I think with the added power, a little bit wider of a tire, I think, just like the street stocks, you will see them pretty high, but one or two, on that very low line.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me seeing some of the street stocks just a little bit ago do just that, is run the bottom. But for the most part, those fast guys were on the top digging, and quite a few cars had fallen off the racing surface to the outside, which is not too uncommon here since this uniquely designed track only has one wall on the front stretch and just nothing else around it. So when they get out of whack, the wall's actually your friend in some case because it keeps you inbound and not way outside. So we've seen some cautions almost every time when cars do go off the racetrack, and iRacing likes to throw the caution out of safety for the driver that's even outside the track because he has to enter back into the track, and by doing that, you almost have to ramp yourself onto it, which you can't really see over that. So it is a safety feature built in, but if you want, Kenny, it looks like qualifying is done. We have just a little bit of time left before the first heat race, so if you want to go through at least the top 10 for us, through the qualifying event tonight.
Absolutely. For heat race 1, it looks like we are going to have Sean Superman Krawcheck starting up front. To his outside, in the 26 car, Mr. Boyd Bowden, one of the newer guys here. So I'm kind of curious to see what he's going to be able to do against Sean, who we all know is pretty fast, at least from last season. In the second row, we've got Dustin Hennigan, winner of the Street Stock Series race. To his outside, we've got Chris Eberly in that 0-1 machine. In row 3, we've got Kevin Robinson in the 60, also a longtime driver with Over the Limit. Starting in 6th, we've got Kerry Sight. Ran a time or two with us, and he's starting a little deeper in the field. But just about anything's possible here at Lernerville. In 7th place, we've got Marco Mitchell in the 0-7. And to his outside, in the 27 car, Mr. Jacob Jones.
There we go. So there's your Heat Race 1 lineup. Looks like there's only 2 heat races this evening. Car count's almost the same as the street stock, so very similar car count overall. It should be a fun main event for sure. As you see, we have pulled our, as Dustin likes to call, ugly mugs off the screen so we can give you guys full action of the cars. They're the main event for you and not us. So we have given you the pleasure to get full screen on the track. We got about a lap or two of pacing before we take the green flag. Kenny, you're the league owner here. Talk us through what goes on with the league, and can maybe we get some little insight as far as what we're going to expect next week?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. You don't want to reveal all your secrets all at the same time. Trying to keep, as in just about any racing, I mean, we've seen it in NASCAR over these previous few weeks. Tempers will get hot. Beating and banging does happen. Somebody gets their nose cut off, and somebody gets doored, and somebody can get tapped, and tempers can get hot. So we've actually been pretty good about it over these last few seasons. We haven't had too many major explosions, which very fortunate. As they take green out of 4, we're going to see Boyd Bowden take the outside of Sean Krawczyk, pushing it 3 wide out of 2.
Sean Krawczyk in different colors than I'm used to seeing, that white and red car. Putting some early pressure on Boyd, who had a really good start there to the heat race number 1. It's an 8-lap event for the first and second heat race for tonight before we hit the main event with the Full Send Gaming 35. Them two kind of spaced out over the rest of the field, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, led by Chris Eberly. They're getting pretty racy back there, Kenny. Looks like Chris actually kind of pulled away a little bit from Dustin and Kevin. Dustin, who just put on a killing of a show in that heat or the main event just about a half hour ago or less. These cars are a little bit faster and a little bit tougher than those street stocks, so I'm really going to keep my eyes on him to see what he can perform tonight. He actually didn't really show up too much in the heat races. It only showed up in the main event, so I'm not going to take where he finishes, in this heat race anyways to heart, because I know he's going to be fast in that main event. Going back to the front of the field, Boyd's about a 3-car length advantage over Sean Krawczyk, and they're running almost the same kind of line around to the corner. It looks like Sean's just a little bit higher on the outside. As you see, he gets a really good run off that exit, which we talked about, Kenny, in that last race. You got to push that edge to be fast here.
Oh, 100%. Watching some of these guys and the lines that they're taking early on in this heat race, with a little bit of glazing going on throughout the corners, I'm actually surprised to see Sean as low as he is, trying to see how the setup works, down on that low line with the current setup that he's got. And one of the biggest troubles is building a setup that's adaptable in both situations. You need to have the gear low enough so you can still run topside, but you still need drive in case somebody is in your line to come off of the low line if you really have to switch. So being a versatile setup, I think it's going to play a huge factor tonight, and I think it's going to show rather well who has it and who doesn't.
Yeah, the street stocks definitely showed us that the highline is more prominent than it was even in the fixed session. So you're definitely have to get that gearing tuned a lot just to be able to run the mid to bottom, because that banking is such a huge difference, and your car just dies essentially on exit, especially off turn 2. I feel like personally, from my experience. But nonetheless, we did see heat race number 1 did conclude. We had Sean Krawczyk did take it over Boyd. 3rd place would be Dustin on that one. 4th was Chris. I'm sorry, I apologize. Boyd was 1st. Sean Krawczyk was 2nd. Dustin was 3rd. Kevin Robinson 4th. Chris Eberly 5th. Kerry 6th. Marco Mitchell in 7th. And Jacobs around the field in 8th. As Kenny, heat race number 2 is starting to get gridded up here. If you want to go through that lineup for us.
On the pole tonight, we've got Joel Boutel, brand new driver, making his debut with us tonight. Starting to his outside, we've got Dane Lloyd at number 9. Dane's had a little bit of a rough patch, and he's usually a very consistent driver, and I hope to really see that shine tonight. Starting in 3rd, we've got David Lester in the 44 car. To his outside, we've got Joe Garcia in the 114. 5th place will bring Dennis Anderson Jr., also another debuting driver tonight. In 6th place, we've got Clifford Bellamy in the 002. And rounding out the field in 7th will be Trevor Williams in the 78 car.
I'm glad to see multiple new names, new faces out there. We talked about it last season quite often about, quality over quantity, but if you can able to get some extra quality drivers in, that just makes everything more and more fun with a higher car count for sure. And the street stocks kind of showed that way, as we saw a lot of good hard side by side racing throughout, a 16 car field. So I'm expecting no less tonight with the big blocks, anyways. As we got about a half lap or so before we take the green flag, we see Dane Lloyd drop to the back. He requested to be in the back of the field for this heat race number 2. But we're going to turn our eyes to our newcomer, Joel Boutel, who is going to take his first start at this league in the heat race number 1. Green flag is out with a really delayed start. Joe Garcia, I don't know if he had a jump or if Joe just had a lag too far back, but that gave Mr. Joe a good advantage and put him in the top spot, Kenny.
Absolutely. As you see on the front of Joel's car, he's got that left front waving to the crowd as they go by. Car's looking actually really good, running that lower midline. Right behind him, Joe Garcia is taking some pressure from the 44D. Kind of surprised to see right now. Joe is usually one of our fastest runners along with Sean. So to see him actually getting, lagging a little bit back from Joel's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, for sure. I expected the same thing, actually, but you never know with these newcomers. They bring some stuff that we haven't seen before, and that car is bad fast. And he's not even running the top of the track either, so that's something that's really surprising me at the moment. I don't know if you guys caught that. Trevor Williams on the first lap, turn 4, just kind of smashed the outside wall. So that's why he's kind of far back from everybody else. But outside of that, everybody running pretty close, minus Dane Lloyd. He's just kind of lagging back. I think he's just taking an easy race. Maybe just because maybe doesn't feel confident with the car. Who knows? He's just kind of just chilling in the back. But other than that, second, third, fourth, and fifth are just, with a car length or 2. And we got about 2 laps left in heat race number 2, which is the final heat race of this evening. See a good run by David Lester on the inside, but the car actually picked up too much on the left front and almost lost it. So he had to check up quite a bit, and it gave Mr. Lester the good run off the corner, give him second place for sure.
I'm also getting word from the pits that the 27 of Jacob Jones is having major issues tonight, and it does not appear as if he will be able to make the feature as they begin to load the car up into the trailer. But coming around, we've got our winner of heat race number 2, number 29, Joe Battelle.
Yeah, that's good to see. It sucks for Jacob Jones. I knew he was expecting to do well tonight, and unfortunately, with his troubles, cannot make the field for the main event of the Full Sin Gaming 35. They did conclude. Their second place was Joe Garcia. Third place was David Lester. Fourth, Dennis Anderson Jr. Fifth place was Christopher Bellamy. Sixth place was Dane Lloyd, and then Trevor Williams that rounded out the running order in heat race number 2. But we now have a warm-up session, which typically means that we're going to kick it to commercial break, pay homage to our sponsors out there. So we'll be right back, fans, momentarily. All right, guys, welcome back. Hopefully you got ready and all guys are excited for the Folsom Gaming 35 here tonight. We got our heat races out of the way. It is time for the main event this evening. Kenny, real quick before these cars get rolling, let's go through that starting lineup.
Absolutely. On the pole tonight, we've got Boyd Bowden in the number 26 car. Just to his outside, in the number 2, we've got Joe Battelle. In third, we've got Sean Krotchik. Dancing with him tonight will be Joe Garcia in the 114. Sitting in fifth, we've got Dustin Hennigan in the 16 car. To his outside, David Lester in the 44. Seventh place, we'll have Kevin Robinson in the 60. Eighth place, we'll have Dennis Anderson Jr. in the 04. Ninth, we'll have Chris Eberly in the 01. To his outside, the 002 car, Clifford Bellamy. Sitting in 11th, we've got Kerry Seitz in the 69. And in 12th, we've got Dane Lloyd running that number 9. 13th, we've got Marco Mitchell in the 07. 14th will be Trevor Williams, and it looks like he will round out the field. As I mentioned earlier, the 27 car of Jacob Jones will not be able to make the feature tonight.
That's definitely unfortunate to hear that once again, but you know, they're gonna get that thing prepped up and ready for next week for sure at USA Speedway. That'll be a hell of an event for sure. I'm looking forward to that one because that track is pretty fast, and it's one of those tracks I didn't expect that iRacing to throw dirt on top of, but they did it and it works. It works great actually. I love it. So looking forward to next week for sure. We got just under a lap left before we take the green flag in tonight's main event. Mr. Boyd Bowden is your race leader for this start. Kenny, what do you expect tonight? What are your thoughts? How do you think tonight's going to go?
Oh, Lernerville is interesting, man, and it's going to be a battle. Just now as they're coming out of 3 and 4, getting ready to take the green, and they're off.
It's 3 wide there early there before they even got to the start-finish line per se, but really close battle entering turn number 3 here. We got Boyd who actually fell second. Oh, we actually got the 114, it looks like, off the track already. Mr. Joe Garcia corrects it and does well. He kind of falls back in line. No cautions out. Kenny, he's got a lot of work to do to get back up to where he was in the front there. Rotating back to the front, though, side by side for the race lead. We got Boyd trying to get his position back that he lost on the initial start. Runs a really good high line there. Excellent speed off the corner and secures first place once again.
Yeah, he's absolutely putting that right rear right on the cushion, using every little bit of it that he can. Just trying to keep the momentum up while the track is still, semi-fresh, just a little bit of glaze on it. Just an absolute beautiful line to run. Sitting right behind him, we've got Joel Battelle in that gorgeous green and black car, the number 29. Also following around about the same line, Lernerville being what it is, we're going to see a lot of cars up here. We actually don't see anybody running a different line until we look at Kevin Robinson in the 60 car.
Don't mean to cut you off here. We have a caution on the track. Chris Eberly, turn number 3 on his lap number 5. Throws it deep into the corner, and the 69 was just going extra slow and nowhere to go. Clips his left rear, spins out, and then he got hit coming off the track almost, or he did rather, then he actually rolled the car when it almost came to a complete stop. So that's unfortunate. It doesn't look like it's heavy damage, but it is enough to bring out the caution.
Yes, it is pretty unfortunate, to have an accident like that. But on the bright side, it is still early. There's still a lot of racing left to do tonight. It's only lap 6 of 35. So, plenty of time to make it up and get himself back up, close to the front.
Well, Eberly decided different, actually. He, as you were just mentioning him, he decided to park the car for this evening. I don't know if that was just damages or whatnot. I think that he did have a fast repair, but he did not like to take that, and he is done for this evening. As we see, we got the Delaware restart starting to file out, which, I mean, you've heard us explain it before, but for anybody that's new to the series and our streams here at Nerditudes, Delaware file restart, essentially first place, sole possession of the lead. Second row, which is second and third place, the second place car gets choice of line, which in this case Joel is to like to take the top side, which is the preferred line here. And everybody else is just opposite what iRacing tells them. So essentially the odd number cars on the outside, the even number cars are on the inside as far as position goes. But nonetheless, pace truck is off. Boyd, Bowden ready. Green flag is out. Excellent restart by him. 3 wide for second, third, and fourth. Joel onto the wall, somehow corrects it. I've never been able to do that before. He lost a few spots because of that. And that allows Sean and Dustin, as I mentioned, Dustin Hennigan, that heat race, I told you it wasn't gonna show his true talents, as he is now second place, dripping it right behind Boyd.
Absolutely. Looking farther back into the field, we've actually got a solid race. Number 69, Kerry Seitz, actually making contact with a couple of different cars. The 114 of Joe Garcia included, but still keeps it straight, and we're going to keep her green.
Yeah, there was a cup. I thought I saw maybe an incident before that, but it looked like they kept it going, no caution. And yeah, that check up in turn 3, too. That was kind of huge. That spaced them outside. Oh, Dane just yeeted Kerry off the racing surface of turn number 4. Bear rolls him into the outside wall, and there it is. The caution has finally come out after some little delay. No idea what that was about, but that sent Kerry off the track. I think he's going to be towing and using his fast repair as well. So that was quite a wreck there. I don't know if that stemmed from their previous incident that I was just talking about right before that happened. Not too sure. We'll have to go back and look. And Kerry has elected to remove himself off the track for this evening as well, Kenny.
Yep, and that would, Dane coming in as hot as he did, that will give him the OL of the night. I know coming into this race, he wasn't overly confident in the car. He's just, kind of out there to test the car, more or less learning to see what he can do with the setups of these things, and try to push it, maybe later on in the season. But, yeah, it's pretty odd for Dane, to be back where he is. Like I said, I guess he's had a couple of rough patches this season, and he's just trying to work his way through it.
Yeah, he's had some rough patches for sure. I'm used to seeing him, close to that podium, if not in the podium. We interviewed him quite a few times last season, and I didn't expect that. But I mean, that wreck to it didn't actually stem from anything. That was just a completely isolated incident. He just drove in way too hard, and Kerry was really slow entering that corner. It looked like, at least from my telemetry standpoint. So it looked like just a racing deal. Nonetheless, the car that typically is hitting the other guy gets the OL, which in this case Dane definitely got that done. He's now in the back of the field as the green flag is back out. Boyd with these excellent restarts is going to play a huge difference as to whether he can take the top spot in tonight's event or not. We see Dave Lester get a decent run off the exit of turn number 2. He takes a solid number 2nd place as they go almost 3 wide here. The 16 of Dustin putting some decent pressure. He goes around Joe on the top side for 3rd place, and you see Joe now dip down to the bottom, try to make something happen on the bottom, which is impressive. He's able to do so. He's got that gearing, I think, set up for that mid to low line. That's how he's able to do that. Oh, we see, who is that up there? That is, actually the caution came out. It's David Lester. Caution was thrown by the game to make him securely enter back onto the track without any harm, Kenny.
Yeah, absolutely. iRacing does pretty decent with these cautions, coming out for, if you're looking for realism, they do it really accurately. Super unsafe to be exiting pit road or coming back onto the track, however you want to look at it, in front of all these leaders. And it could cause much more damage to cars that didn't need it. Super happy with that. So I guess we see where we move on from here.
Yeah, it kind of helps out with the admin perspective when the game just kind of knows the safety boundary and to throw the caution when needed. But got about 2 laps here before we'll see the restart. Looks like Joel's going to change it up, at least right now. He started on the high side in that first row, double file, last restart. Now he looks like he's positioning himself for the inside line on this restart. He did have a decent restart over Dustin last time, so I'm surprised he's elected to change his line this time. Maybe seeing him run that bottom lane there the last few laps before the caution came out, maybe he found something new that he wants to try, Kenny.
You know, seeing him down on the low line this early in the race, it gives me the feeling that he's really he's running in his groove. He wants to get it where he's comfortable with it, and he'll know when to hit those points, you know, later on in the feature once we get more glaze on the top of the track and, you know, it starts to slow down a bit. It really looks like he's prepping himself for that late race end game.
Yeah, it does for sure. The green flag is out. Boyd, once again, he is just a professional in these restarts, just slaying the field. 3-4 car length advantage. Over second place, Joel, which he did find that inside grip there and gave himself a good shot at second place. He has that securely now. Dustin put an excellent pressure back behind him. Fourth place, Joe Garcia. We were just on board with him before the green flag came out. He's got fourth place. He's actually running a pretty decent inside line. He's choking it up just a little bit there in the center. That's allowed Kevin Robinson to make a slide move. That was actually a pretty bold move. Squeezes just in front of him and gets that preferred line over Joe Garcia entering turn number 1. Let's see if Joe does anything with it. He hugs the bottom side. And actually, Kenny, he's actually found some decent grip there on the bottom himself.
Yes, he has. Joe has been running an amazing race, you know, as we all know. Coming from the back early on in the race, he's already got himself, you know, back within the top 5. And we're only on lap 17. We got plenty of racing to do. And he looks like he's going to have one monstrous setup for late race as he comes out of 4 side by side with the 60B of Kevin Robinson and still, you know, takes the lead over him into 1 and 2 and electing to use that low line.
Yeah, he's giving us a little bit of a spoiler, so to speak, as far as, you know, as the run continues to go down, as we've got about 18 laps to go or so just over halfway in this mini motorsport, or the Full Sling Gaming 35 for that matter. I apologize there. But yeah, if the line gets more slicker and slicker on that top side, actually, I'm going to cut that short. We have a caution on the racetrack here. We're going to try to find that for you guys.
Looks like the 002 of Clifford Bellamy out over turn 2 backstretch.
Yeah, actually, he ramped the back of the 07 of Marco Mitchell. It actually sent Marco onto the infield tires, and his car got stuck. Resting on top of the tire, he had to use the toe as well. So we're going to have to wait for him to get back onto the racing surface. But yeah, that was unfortunate for Clifford. And then Marco, completely isolated incident. It was not part of his doing, but he was there. He was a victim, and he had to use a toe for that. So that's going to put him in the rear of the field as well, Kenny.
Yeah, it hurts being, you know, just an innocent bystander in a situation like that. But, you know, we've all dealt with it in racing in some form or another. May just be running your own race. You could even be, you know, in the back and, you know, everything just pops off in front of you. You know, things can get hectic really, really quick, especially on dirt.
And especially at Lernerville for sure as well. Pace truck lights are off, waiting for this restart. Of course, we're going to see Boyd. He's been killing it so far on these restarts. We got about 16 laps to go once they hit the start-finish line at this point in time. Waiting for that go pedal to be pressed. There he goes. It just looks like a mirrored image every time. Just once again, 4 to 5 car length advantage. Entering turn number 1, just in his own zip code. Joel getting excellent pressure from Joe Garcia, really low under in that corner. Dustin actually is going to take advantage of that and try to run that high liner there. Running right behind Joel. Going to actually almost clears Mr. Garcia there as they go 3 wide out. Excellent racing for second place. This is doing nothing but positive for Boyd, who's just pulling away. Dustin, I'm really surprised by this kid only being 14. First week with Full Sling Gaming in the over the limit. And he's just impressed me right now, Kenny.
Yeah, absolutely. He is definitely a man of caliber with these guys. You know, we've seen Joe run time and time again, and we're seeing what Boyd's doing here tonight. And we've actually got Joel out over the top of turn 2.
He does one barrel, lands it back on his wheels, and yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but just gracefully rolled that thing over. I don't think he actually suffered any damage, Kenny. Is that what you see there?
It really doesn't look to me like he's wrong with the car. Pretty straight aluminum as far as I can tell, which is really impressive.
Yeah, I thought the last roll by Lester, just about an hour or a half hour ago in the street stocks there, was impressive. But that one, I think that one actually tops it for me. To roll your car and not have any damage. That's if you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it, right? So, Dustin gave Lester a 9.5 last race, and I'm gonna have to up him. I'm gonna give him a 9.7. The only thing I could give a 10 for is if you rolled the car and didn't lose a position, maybe even one. But so I'll reserve that record for that. But it looks like. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say what I think we were both going to say. It looks like he can break out that 9.7, as it looks like he will get his spot back.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going for. So I want to up my number to a 10, or we'll go 9.9, because iRacing did give him the assist there. So 9.9 for the number 2 car. It says 29 on the door. iRacing has him as number 2. So we'll go off what the door says, as we usually do. So the number 29, Joel, resuming in second place after rolling the car. That is super impressive. But we're going to watch Boyd just do his thing as the pace truck does pull off the track right now. I'm expecting nothing different from Boyd, as he's just mirroring it, all of his restarts as he goes once again. Joe with a little better start than last time. It only gives Boyd about a 3 to 4 car length advantage this time. Quite a few cars, Kenny, on that bottom.
Yes, absolutely. And, that we talked about this early on in the race, that cars would slowly start moving down to that inside line. Seeing the amount of cars running the bottom line is a little surprising to me, as we've got at least 4, maybe even 5 cars running that bottom line. So almost, 1/3 of the field down there trying to see what they can make up with it.
Yeah, as you got 10 laps to go here, these cars have to get a little more sideways to get the grip and speed they need. And if that track's really slick up there, not many cars have used the middle, the lower line like they have in the street stock. So you're seeing a lot of the cars kind of transition to find that grip. Joe has kind of led the way on that, Kenny, as far as showing that grip off. He's currently running in second, actually getting some decent pressure by now in the podium position, Sean Krawcheck and that white and black and red number 10 machine. Well, 10 on the iRacing, 9 on the game. So we're going to go with 9 on this one as well. He's actually clearing Joe, Kenny, for second place right now.
That Highline has some incredible momentum. I mean, even as well as Joe is performing down on the bottom, that high side momentum, it's super hard to beat. To come up with the right gear ratio to run the bottom and maintain, as well as Joe is with Sean, is pretty impressive. I really feel like Joe needs that top to burn off even more, as Boyd Bowden actually takes it a little high out of 3 and 4 and shuffles himself back to, looks like 3rd, maybe even 4th position.
Yeah, exactly at the point where you said hopefully it burned off a little more. I think that's what happened. Just doing a little too hot. That changes everything now, as we got 5 laps to go. Boyd is in 3rd place. He's got some huge amount of work to get back to where he was this whole entire race at this point, as you see him throw it deep behind Joe Garcia. As Joe's now he recognizes that he's got a good chance of second place. He's trying to run a secure line. Actually, he runs back to the bottom, as I mentioned. That's going to give a good look for Boyd. And Joe's he is surprising me on the bottom of turn number 1 and 2 and able to maintain that same speed as the people on the top side, Kenny.
Now, right now, for Boyd to get around Joe, he's going to have to keep his focus, his whole mind clear, keep his focus where he needs it. Being that we're 2 laps to go, coming around for 2 laps to go. He's really got to run his own race. He's got to make sure he keeps his head in his helmet and, not blows it out over the top, which is incredibly stressful, being, up front all night to get shuffled back to 3rd and even in contention for losing 3rd to Mr. David Lester in the 44.
Yeah, as you got final lap here in the main event, they were 3 wide in turn 3 and 4. Joel digging hard. They're on the super low end of the track. There's just no grip down there for him. we will see Sean Krawcheck just almost in a way gifted that race win. Second place is actually going to go to Joe Garcia. There's actually, who was that roll? That's Boyd. Multiple rolls there after the start finish line. Got a really good run in Joe Garcia. That was after the race. I mean, it didn't really affect anything as far as position goes, but Boyd, after all those rolls, did still end up in third place. Fourth place looks like it's going to go to Mr. Joel, and to round out your top five is going to be David Lester. If Kenny would run the rest of that lineup for us there.
Absolutely. As you said, David Lester taking home fifth. We've got Kevin Robinson taking home sixth for the night. Dennis Anderson taking home seventh. Just behind him, Dane Lloyd finishing in eighth place after coming from 12th. Had a little bit of issues, but it's progress nonetheless. In ninth, we've got the 16 car of Dustin Hennigan. 10th, we will have Trevor Williams in the 78. 11th place, we'll see Clifford Bellamy in the 002. Marco Mitchell will take home 12th for the night. Kerry Seitz in the 69 car in 13th. And rounding out your feature starters will be Chris Eberle sitting in 14th.
All right, so there is your finishing order for tonight's Full Sin Gaming 35. Thoughts on this race, Kenny? For at least for myself, anyways. My heart goes out to Boyd there. This was his race to lose in one corner. That when there's not a wall up there to kind of keep you in bounds, it bit him. That was really unfortunate to watch, but outside of that, the race was pretty good, I'd say overall. Had a lot of decent side-by-side, especially mid-pack. Really enjoyed the race for sure. What were your thoughts on tonight's event?
It was just as I expected. These big block guys, they put on one hell of a show week in and week out, and tonight was no exception. We saw 3 wide. We did see a few rough incidences of blowing out over the top of the corner, but overall, that's just the nature of the beast. Lernerville's tough, and our over the limit guys are even tougher.
Oh, definitely, right? So those words being said, I was waiting for Boyd to come in, but I think we're just going to bring in our second place finisher if we can. Let's see. It looks like he is available. We're going to see if we can get a word with Boyd a little bit later on, but Mr. Garcia, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Garcia, you surprised me there with that inside line. I have not seen anyone run that low with that amount of speed. That's a unique setup you got there. Is that something you've practiced for a while, or was that your game plan going in there?
No, this is actually the first time I ran this setup, and I knew the top was going to go away quick, so I put a little bit steeper gear in it just so I could rip the bottom. But it worked out pretty good. I'm definitely happy with the setup because, like I said, it's the first time I ran that setup.
As I said in the street stocks, going back to Dustin in his interview, he just ran just a few laps and just dominates the position that they're in. And you're gifted a little bit there with Boyd, who was just dominating those restarts. I want to go to him before he got to that little hiccup there in turn 3 that allowed you and Sean to kind of pass along for the top 2. Did you think in that later? Because me and Kenny actually were thinking this guy's got something for the long run because that line on the top gets slicker and slicker, and you're just running where no one's running, so you still have full grip all day. Did you think you had something late in the run for Mr. Boyd, or in this case now Sean?
I knew I'd work my way back up because I went off on lap 1 and went all the way to the back. We stayed green, and I worked my way back up. Boyd and Sean were way faster than me in 3 and 4 on that top line, and I lost speed. I tried to go up there a couple times, and I lost my momentum, so I stayed low. And I'm not lying, the last 2 laps, I was blocking Boyd. I knew he had that high line, and that's why I went mid. And I was like, I want second, if not first. So I went mid, and I feel bad, but we kept it clean. It was good. But like I said, that low line stayed in with me the whole time. And if we had a couple more laps, I think that top would have gave out, and Sean would have had to come down low, and Sean's car was for the top and not down low. I think I might have had something.
Yeah, it's typical Sean fashion there for sure. Kenny, what you got for him, man?
Like you already stated, your setup was working really well tonight. The bottom stayed with you. Lernerville is, definitely a person's track. Some love it, some absolutely hate it. What are your feelings about Lernerville?
When I first started iRacing, I absolutely hated it because I ran sprint cars and I never fails. I always went off. And then when big blocks came out, I actually kind of fell in love with it. Like Lernerville and Volusia are like my two favorite tracks for big blocks. So I like it. If you can rip the top earlier enough in the race and then move down the bottom, set your car up for it, like this is definitely a fun track, and it's definitely a good raceable track. It's not a one-lane track.
Yeah, that's for sure. That being said, though, man, we're gonna give it to you. I know Dustin usually does this for us, but it's a little different here tonight. So I'm gonna lead off with that. Shout out to anybody out there watching, or any sponsors you want to shout out to this evening.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely Warrior Racing for being a part of the team. Warrior Wraps for the car, or for doing my paint on the car, and Lester, because Dave Lester's in here, and he's my teammate. And then our sponsors, we got Tough Ring, Sim Shots, SimX Pro, No Sweat, Pulse Poppers, Butt Kicker, BreamBugs.com, and definitely Pay to Win Setups. Like I said, this was the first time I ran their setup tonight, and all I had to do was change the fuel, a little bit of the perch to get the ride height right, and she was hooking all night. So definitely thank them too.
Good lineup of people behind you for sure. And yeah, it sounds like after tonight's race, you will definitely be sticking with their setups, at least for the time being. But we'll let you go ahead and get off this thing and go get relax and get a drink or whatever you got to do. Congratulations on your second place finish for this evening, man.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the broadcast, and thanks, Kenny, for putting this league on.
Absolutely, buddy. I love to have you here.
All right, so there's your second place finisher, Mr. Joe Garcia. I do believe we have Boyd available for us for the third place podium finisher. See if I can get a word with him. Mr. Boyd, do you have a copy, man?
Got a copy.
Hey, man, that I was giving you huge praise for those restarts. You just dominated the field. It set yourself up for success. Of course, I have to go to the turn 3 incident. Walk us through that. What happened?
Well, I just had a perfect line going, and then I decided to change lines just to see if I get a little bit more drive. And I just slid up to the cushion. There was nothing to grab me, and I slid off the track.
It's funny that you said that happened, because Kenny was talking about, as we watched you do it live, that the people behind you, they were hoping, theoretically, that the line would burn off. And as soon as he said that, that's when it happened. So it looked like that indeed was the case. It just got too slick for you. After that, though, you kind of hugged second, third place there. You ended up getting third. So you still got podium, just wasn't the win, unfortunately. But how was the car after the wreck? Was it up to par? Was something a little off on it? Walk us through that.
I think the car was alright. I think it tweaked it a little bit when I come back on the track. I hit the fence a little bit down the main straight and tweaked it. But I took after Volusia and realised how the track slickens off, I made a decision to tweak on the car, and it felt pretty good and pretty gripped up until I slid off the track. But then, I was around the outside of Joe there. Didn't have much of a lane coming around the main straight, and then, rolled it across the line, or rolled down the main straight at the checkered.
Yeah, 10-4. Kenny, what you got for him?
Now, Lernerville being the track that it is, being predominantly a highline track, obviously your car was hooking up really well through there all night long, and even as the cushion got thinner and thinner and thinner, you were still up there. You were really pushing fate. Do you think your car would have handled, like a midline or, even a mid-high entry point through exit?
I reckon I could put the car anywhere I wanted to. I tried the middle early in the race, and it didn't really give me anything, and I was about to get freight trained on the top, so I just moved back up there, and I was waiting for the middle to come in, but I just didn't move down in time.
I'll tell you what, the car looked absolutely phenomenal. Even, after a minor mishap like that, you still rebounded really well. Just incredible performance.
Yeah, with that being said there, Mr. Boyd, same deal here. We need to hear some shout outs from the people watching, your sponsors, this and that. Who you got to thank this evening?
I'd just like to thank all the boys at Elite Sim Sport, all the guys at Speed Shop 51. The car was fairly hooked up. Baby Graphics, Super Dirt Series, all the guys for putting on the leg, you guys for streaming, and yeah, thanks for a great race. Or Sean and Joe and everyone, it was great.
Yeah, appreciate those words. It wasn't first place, but we still got you on podium nonetheless. So, congratulations once again, and go celebrate with your team. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Once again, that was Boyd, your third place finisher of this evening for the Full Send Gaming 35, and that leaves none other than the person we've talked to quite often since we started this thing, Mr. Sean Krawcheck. Sean, do you have a copy, man?
Yes, sir.
Man, that. Did you expect to win that thing? You kind of gifted
Not
that.
really.
Yeah, walk us through that, man.
I fell off the track. I don't know what point. I wasn't really focused on what lap it happened, but I fell off the track, I would say pretty early in the race, and I just tried to dig back up. I had some pretty good battles there, and then I was fighting with Joe to get around him, and then Boyd fell off as soon as I got up there past Joe, so I really don't know.
Yeah, that your car looked pretty good for the most part. You got up to second place on your own and was doing great, and I expected to be in the podium for sure. But then that when Boyd had that incident turn 3, it just really opened the doors for you to take that. When you saw that happen, what was your game plan initially to kind of maintain your spot or go and keep the win there for tonight?
Yeah, I really didn't know how close Joe was behind me there. I didn't know if Boyd was going to be right back on me. After that, I didn't know if the caution was going to come out. So there was a lot of stuff going through there. And if the restart happened, I think that's what would have gave me an advantage. But I didn't have any of that. So pretty happy with it still.
And Lernerville, it's a tough track, and it changes pretty frequently depending on the cars that are running here. How was your car handling overall, top, bottom, right through the middle of the corner? How was it feeling to you all night?
It felt really solid all night, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, the right rear was a little stiff, but other than that, the whole car felt amazing.
I think the only other question I've got, and I'm going to steal Jeremy's thunder a little bit, who have you got to make a shout out to tonight?
My team owner for coming in and giving me a little tip in the middle of the race. CGP Speedworks, Ryko for always helping me out. You guys for putting on the stream, and Kenny for putting on the league.
Absolutely, man.
I appreciate those kind words, Sean. Congratulate with your team, man. Go have some fun, and congratulations once again on your first place finish in the Full Send Gaming 35. All right, go have a good night, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And that was your first place, Sean Krawcheck. I'm glad to see him back in the podium there. I think we got some people to thank, Kenny. Without them, we couldn't be doing this for sure. They definitely support us in a huge way. And I'm going to lead that off with martinsportsapparel.com. Dustin praises them. I can't speak like Dustin, so I apologize on that. But the guy is super cool. Hard work, dedication to make sure his stuff's 100% quality. Really top-notch product, gloves, hats, shirts. Go check them out. I don't need to advertise lineup. The website looks great. Go see what they do for you. martinsportsapparel.com. Kenny, who you got to thank for us over there?
Well, I agree with you. I'm not as good as Dustin either, but I'd like to give a big shout out to Mini Motorsport Doors. Mini authentic replica doors of whatever you may want to put on there. If you want to hand it out to your drivers at the end of a season, at the end of a race, just about highly customizable 11 and 21 inch doors, starting at $15 and $30 a piece. Super great quality work. And I actually couldn't be happier to have them on board with us and, give out their product as a season-ending championship prizes to these guys. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Full Send Gaming, the sole proprietor of the Over the Limit bounty system. So when we get drivers that are up front week and week and week, take 3 wins in a row, they now have a bounty out on their head, and Full Send Gaming likes to cover that, make it even more interesting, offering smaller cash prizes that grow as the season continues.
And then last but not least, Kicker. Their product is quite unique. I always describe it to people who don't know what it is as like a D-box for your computer chair. Gives you a great sound, great feeling in the seat. And they're at a reasonable price too. I think they're on special right now for $199. They do have a promo code. Fortunately, actually, it's right there. Yeah, it's going to be thebuttkicker.com/AFF equals 33. Use that link, and you'll get an additional 20% off when you use the code FIREDUP. That is buttkicker.com. Definitely check out their product. It's a very unique thing, and it's very cool, actually. It's just, it's a whole different experience in your seat there. That being said, Kenny, this was the first time that we have not had Dustin on camera. It's just me and you. I hope you had just as much as fun as I did in a different role for you. Typically, I know you've done this once before with Dustin, but it's been a while, so a little bit of rust knocked off. Hopefully, we can do this more often, depending on the plan from the weeks going out. But how did you feel tonight overall? How was it in the booth with me?
I can't even lie. I had an absolute blast. These drivers made it really interesting to call. And being up here with you, it was just an awesome feeling, man. And yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to be up here, more often doing this. It's an absolute blast.
Excellent, man. Good to hear. All right, guys, that was us from Nerd Tears Nerd TV. That was the Full Send Gaming 35 at Over the Limits. Tomorrow, catch us at Texas for the fuel truck race they got going on over there. That'll be around 7:30, 7:20 Eastern. Check us out then. And next week we will see you at USA at Over the Limit. Guys, stay safe out there.